Natsukis, it's your bestie Summer, and I have a new fic for you, as you can see by the title of this video. I'm totally not recording this at 2:30 in the morning when I have a dentist appointment tomorrow. Fun. I'm also trying to be a bit quieter than I usually am because family's trying to sleep, so yeah, but it's a really fun one. I enjoyed it immensely. It is so funny. Like, each chapter is just a new kind of amazingness. Like, it's just hilarious. I'm so happy the author let me read it. You have to go and give them kudos if you liked it. You have to. No exceptions. Go now. Well, at the end of the video you can go, because maybe you won't like it, but like, if you didn't, then why are you going to the end of the video then? Like, but yeah, make sure to give the author kudos and have fun listening. Just have fun listening. It's a really good story. You guys are gonna absolutely love it. You're gonna enjoy it so much. But I think that's everything. So let's get into it. This is part 1, chapter 1 of It's a Reflex, a DPXTC podfic written by Coffee Loving Hermit and read by Summer Audio. Enjoy! Really, he should have known better than to test the Fenton lock in Gotham, of all places. He just couldn't resist dipping out at the start of the tour at Wayne Enterprise. Danny just really wanted to take a very good look, a very long look at the aerospace division. But Danny's been waiting for this since the start of the 2-week, all-expense-paid grand tour of Gotham, when his class won some essay competition about life views or something. Danny didn't even remember writing an essay. Today, the Amity group had just finished eating lunch and from touring the Gotham Gardens, and were going to be stuck at WE until 5 p.m., where it might not be the main building for the aerospace division that was further up the state and hugging the coast. It had a lot of the more brain-heavy people, and that's exactly what Danny was looking for anyway. Growing up in a house of inventors, no, Tucker, his parents aren't mad scientists, that just so happened to be extremely lax on OSHA regulations and a healthy obsession over space and protection, it snowballed into learning about air and spacecrafts as well as the safety mechanisms of said crafts. Ever since the incident, and having nightly mental breakdowns for a week, he had come to accept that he can't be flung into space by any self-respecting space agency anymore. And after coping with that reality by flinging himself into the blueprints and diagrams of airplanes and spacecraft and the history of trajectories, he had found a perfect mild ground of his obsessions. When Sam and Tucker found his notebook rambling on theories about the features of the X-59 Quest supersonic airplane before its showcase, they both teased him mercilessly. At least they didn't find out that he learned everything about the mechanics of the spaceship in Cosmos Wars and Star Walk. So really, he couldn't resist the siren song of the Aeronautics division, and he barely remembered to set an alarm on his phone so he could meet back up with the rest of the tour group. The joy that Danny had felt that he was allowed to be in the main public area of the department and able to talk with the people doing his dream job was immense. Because Danny really had doubts that his visitor's badge would have allowed him any further than the public section. Or is it a hangout spot? There's a whole bunch of tables and couches with the bunch of vending machines along one wall, and another wall that had counters and appliances. Finding a group of people sitting at a table wasn't hard, but hyping himself up to talk with them was. Luckily for Danny, though, one of the older workers noticed him and waved him over with a smile. Beyond a few hellos, nobody really paid attention to Danny, and after staring at them in silent awe, Danny quickly jumped in when someone mentioned structural integrity versus fuel storage. Taking out his notebook, Danny started jotting down notes and equations that were being thrown around. Because, come on, there's no way that he'll remember everything. Not after the incident frying his brain the way it did. He's just having so much fun talking with the engineers and scientists. And Danny even got to chat with a test pilot who had stopped by to see the progress of his future plane. It wasn't until his phone alarm went off that the conversation stopped and they all looked at him before making weird faces. They looked like they got told that their car got totaled, but it's fine because the person at fault bought them a new one, or they accidentally swallowed a bug, or wait, was it a lemon? Danny quickly turned off his alarm and sent a text to the thermos chat asking where the group is and if Mr. Lansard and the guide noticed yet. Wait, kid, what are you doing here? That badge isn't the intern or STEM camp type. One of the scientists leaned forward on the table and squinted at him, and Danny put his phone down and fidgeted with the lanyard. The others in the group just looked at each other, and they all looked confused. None of them didn't know what that badge was specifically for, just that this random kid showed up and got them all into a friendly scientific debate. I'm just here for, Danny's phone went off again as his friend started texting him with updates. He glanced at the chat before looking back up and continued. We all just stopped by to look around, and I was curious about what goes on here, so I kind of slipped away and lost track of time talking to you guys. But I do need to head back, though. I don't want to risk getting lectured again about going off by myself. The scientist that was still scrutinizing him suddenly went wide-eyed and repeatedly smacking his coworker's shoulders before leaning into his space and whispered something to the rest of the group, all while still staring at Danny. At once, the rest of the tables turned to face him and stared back at him in shock. A soft, "Holy shit, we're so blind," was said before another one added, "and fucked." They turned back to themselves and got into a whispered argument. Nope, not dealing with whatever that's about. Danny started putting his notebook and pencil into his bag and began to pay more attention to the thermos chat before standing up and to walk out. Looks like I need to charge my phone again. Ever since Tucker messed with it, the battery's been dying way too quickly. Should I just ask him if we could switch out the batteries? Is that possible? Wait, since you need to head back, how about one of us to guide you to the front? This building can be confusing, and we want to make sure that you're brought back safe and sound. The scientist shouted and leaped to his feet, then scrambled to catch up. Danny smiled at him as they walked out of the room. Looks like his fears of missing the time crunch was unfounded. Honestly, the employees have been treating him so nicely since he walked into WE. Like, they really do take professionalism to a whole new level. Must be their pay rate and benefits. Because while Danny could absolutely find his way back, having someone fast-track him back to the front lobby would be a huge help. Thanks. I almost got lost trying to find this place. I can't believe how confusing this place is. It's like a maze. The scientist just nervously chuckled. As the two of them walked through the halls, they started talking about the finances needing to upkeep everything and to make sure it all runs smoothly. Ancients, hearing this dude talk about how they have so much money for something generalized, but running out on pet projects sounds like such a hassle. Now that he's thinking about it, he's always just taken his parents' leftovers or scavenged for his own parts of any of his personal projects. I've never really considered how much money it takes to run projects. I really just stuck to what was in reach, so I never really had to worry about the money limit. The main lobby was in sight now, and Denny ignored his walking partner's grumbling. Something about, not surprised, hopefully it works. Craning his head to look around the room, he eventually spotted the back of the guy talking on the phone with 3 other guys behind him. Denny really should have bothered to remember his face and name. At least he remembered that he was wearing a black suit, tall, and has black hair, and waved his goodbyes to the scientists, who waved back but looked between him and the guide and his group of assistants before blanching and skittering away. Weird guy. He must have not been re-socialized into public after finishing college or something. Shrugging, he turned back around and stood behind his guide's trio of assistants, waiting on his friends so that they could hash out their cover story. Grimacing at the suits all the guys had to wear, he felt so lucky that he only had to dress business casual for this tour. Didn't stop Sam from trying to make him as presentable as possible to make a good impression on the people he was sneaking out to meet. Danny was lucky that he at least had comfortable and worn-in shiny black shoes, because Tucker had to go buy a new pair. Having Sam save him from showing up looking like he walked into a JC quarters and grabbing the best and cheapest option for this important event didn't stop him and Tucker teasing Sam that her rich kid was showing, which she then, promptly and dead-faced, showed them the receipts for the high-end stores they just walked out of, and the two of them almost face-planted into the parking lot. Bringing himself back to the present, Danny mulled over the conversation he just had before slinging his backpack around to take his notebook back out to write down his thoughts about it, which, with his Fenton luck, something might just happen that would make him forget what he just learned. It's something that Jazz suggested to him once he started to forget things he was told about before he had to immediately focus on ghost attacks. Something about writing stuff down and sorting it made it easier for his long-term memory thing to do its job. Words caught his attention just as he opened his notebook. Do you know him? I don't remember seeing him before, because I really don't want to sit B down again. The PowerPoint that Timmers made was so chaotic that we got off track. First guy sounded exhausted, which Danny kind of felt sympathetic for, even though he's pretty confused about the PowerPoint. How chaotic could it have been? Deciding to listen in, Danny tilted his head a little to be able to watch them from his peripheral. After all these months of ghost fighting, he's picked up a habit of listening in on conversations. You never know who might be having ghost troubles, and his ghost sense has a limited range after all. Seems like that habit is starting to pay off. Getting dirt on authority figures makes it easier to sneak away. No, I think it's the first time I've seen him. Do you think he was just under the radar or something? You know how B-Man is. Never tells us nothing until the last moment. Besides, that was your fault for trusting Timbo with something like that. Second speaker replied. At that, the other two just nodded, and the first speaker just sighed. He felt his eyebrows furrowing and a frown form, because the main guy doesn't really sound like a good leader if his assistants don't even know who they're giving a tour to. In Gotham, of all places, too. Or maybe we could just ask the kid. He's right there, after all. The third one spoke up, and Danny saw that he was motioning at him, which, rude. He sounds like he's only a few years older than Danny himself. A scoff from the second. Is Danny just going by who talked first? Yeah, and he's too preoccupied to think of names for 4 whole people right now. And a chuckle from first made third kick at the ground. Okay, yeah, that's fair, considering what I know of you all. Just straight up asking him in the middle of focusing on something would probably get us nowhere. I really don't feel like getting snarked to death. There was a small lull before Third spoke up again. Should we ask B then? First just chuckled again and rocked back and forth on his heels with his hands in his pockets. Uh-huh, because he's just going to admit it right off from the bat. There were groans from Second and Third. That he just so happened to forget to mention something like that to us. He's been pretty busy these past few weeks, after all. Maybe he just legitimately forgot. All three of them stood still to think about whatever they were thinking about. Second face-palmed, while Third snorted, and First bent over laughing. Apparently, that caught the attention of the main guide because he glanced over his shoulder before looking back forwards. You boys doing all right? That's weird. Danny bit at his lip and was glad that the others couldn't see his face from his hunched-over position, writing in his notebook as he felt his face go into a full-blown scowl, because he didn't think that main guide's voice was so deep. Was it? He could just be remembering it wrong. And it didn't help that it's been a few hours, not to mention that he was tuning out the main guide the entire morning. Yeah, that was probably it. We were wondering if First started saying before Second cut him off. Who's the kid? Third whipped around to stare gobsmacked at Second's question before quickly turning back to main guide, who just did a world-weary sigh and First choked on his spit. Danny startled and fumbled his writing before focusing on First to check if he's alright. Looking at him, it was clear that First was the shortest, with black hair and blue eyes. Danny looked over him, and First gave Danny his attention and gave him an award-winning smile. What the fuck? How does he look like the epitome of happiness? After First saw that Danny was only blankly staring at him, the guy just shrugged like he was saying, "What can you do?" before turning back to the others. Danny frowned down at his notebook. He wasn't going to finish this right now, was he? He quickly erased the runaway letters from where he was startled and tossed the notebook and pencil back into his bag. A hand shoved itself in front of him. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Duke. What's your name? Danny slowly shook the hand before looking at the hand's owner and blinking up at himself. Why do these guys have such amazing smiles? Danny glanced over at where Second was standing and saw him staring blank-faced, arms crossed, blatantly staring Danny down and clearly angry about something. Looks like only those two know how to be happy. First leaned onto Duke's shoulder and ignored his squawk as First smiled cheerily at him again and stuck his own hand out. Danny shook his hand and nervously looked back over at Second. The dude was just standing there, menacingly, built like a shit brick house, towering above him and staring him down like Danny is his prey. Hiya, First was interrupted by Second. I'm Jason. You can call that idiot over there Dick. He also responds to dickhead. Jason didn't offer to shake his hand, but seemed to fold into himself and uncross his arms. Danny just decided to stick with calling Dick First, because it seems like that's something only Jason calls him, based on First's dramatic gasp and pearl clutching. Danny slowly nodded and looked at all of them before introducing himself. Hi, I'm Danny. Nice to meet you all. Jason nodded and apparently decided that it was more fun to glare down main guide instead of Danny. Which is fine. Jason is pretty scary, and the less Danny has to deal with him, the better. An awkward silence settled around them. So, what did you guys do today? Oh wow, what a great way to break the ice. Good going, Danny. Duke just groaned and rubbed at his face, and First finally let Duke go before skipping around to Jason and kept poking him in the ribs as he talked. This big baby over here wanted to stop by and do some charity work stuff. So Duke and I went along because I was bored and wanted to spend some quality time with these two. Are they doing tour guides as charity work? Do they not get paid to look after a whole group of teenagers? Guess that explains why Jason is so grumpy. Because dealing with first seems like it's tiring, and to not even be paid for it? Well, mostly. I wanted to tag along, but I was able to talk Duke into coming with us, since he's the newest and all, but that's not true anymore, right? First beamed at him, and Denny made a non-committal noise. They'd know their workplace culture the best, so he really doesn't understand why First asks his opinion on that. What a total weirdo. And he was still poking Jason, who just kept standing there and glaring at main guide. Well, my day is going fine until I got dragged out of the library against my will and was told that I was going to WE to help with Jason's charity thing. It's a forced tour, though. Now that Danny looked closer at him, he also had on a backpack. How comfortable is it to wear a suit and a backpack? It looked pretty heavy, too. Has he been carrying that this entire trip? Really? I'm also on a tour here, but a yelp got Duke and Danny's attention, and they both gawked at the headlock that Jason put first in. A ghost of a chuckle from Duke made him look at the other boy and made eye contact with the others. Danny found that he couldn't help it and broke out laughing with Duke. The guy has a catchy laugh, okay? Laughter from the other two joining in made him feel more at ease. It seemed like he took the trio's relationship more seriously than they do. Come on, boys, we're leaving now instead of later. There's been a change of plans, though, so we're moving ahead with the schedule. Apparently, Craig Bridge is closed temporarily, so we're going to have to leave now if we want to make it back in time. The car is pulling up right now, so make sure that you have everything. If we have to turn back around because something was forgotten, then you're benched until you've handed me an essay on forgetfulness. Head on outside and into the car. I have to run up to the office and get Tim. At that, First stomped down on Jason's foot and slipped out of his hold, then pranced around over to Duke and Danny. Main guy just walked over to the elevator, frowning down at his phone. Looks like you're gonna get the sunny view of where we're going. Have you been there yet? Sometimes B doesn't think things through and forgets that not everyone is like him. First brings both of them into a side arm hug and walked out of the building with Jason following behind them. I'm sure you'll like it, though. Everyone does. The evening light was as blinding as Danny thought it would be, since he was inside for the last few hours. Gotham really is dreary. A low chuckle from Jason gets his attention. Yeah, Gotham really is dark, ain't she? Home's home, though. Nothing can make a Gothamite truly hate this place. More of an experience of being in a community, if all of yous ask me. It's a real something, this place is. It's all different here than out of Gotham. Danny looked down to Jason's foot and saw that he wasn't limping at all. Don't worry about me, Squirt. Dick's there got a nasty kick, but he won't get through my steel-toed boots that easily. He probably got hurt more than I did doing that. He may be the first, but he ain't really that special. Jason ruffled his hair quickly before turning around to jog back into the building and catching up to main guide, who was walking towards the elevator. Hey, First? Denny felt First jolt and stumble over his feet. First whipped his head around to look at Danny in a mix of shock and happiness. You didn't get hurt, did you? Jason said that he was wearing steel-toed boots, and I know that they're not comfortable on the receiving end, so I just wanted to make sure that you didn't get hurt. The entire time that First spent staring at Danny, holding back tears and smiling, he felt himself shrink further and further into himself. An elbow jab from Duke and a hiss. Dude got first to shake himself from whatever that was. He made some high-pitched noise and fully hugged Danny right in front of WE. In the middle of the pathway into the building, holding up traffic. Danny can't really find it in himself to hate the guy, though. He gives really good hugs, and Dick looks like he needed it, even if he was weird for hugging a random kid in public in front of an internationally recognized company's HQ. Danny reached up and patted First's arms and stood there awkwardly, being rocked back and forth. He saw Duke walking up next to them, who just took out his phone and took a photo of the two, then winked at Danny and put his phone away. All right, man, you're scaring Danny. He doesn't look like the type of kid to accept hugs from virtual strangers. Take it slow with the waterworks. He's not going anywhere, you know. Yeah, because he's hugging the life out of me. First looked down at him before patting his head and letting go. Seriously, what's up with these people and messing with my hair? Sorry. First sniffed and looked towards the sky and blinked away his tears. It's just that it's nice to know that there's someone who cares about me. I don't have to cry in front of my coffee anymore. It's a nice change of pace, Duke. Okay, that's concerning. Is he okay? Something on his face must have shown because both Duke and First burst out laughing. Oh, no, it's an inside joke. First finished up laughing and explained. So, Tim, yeah, he really loves coffee, even though he's an insomniac. So one time I changed his coffee for decaf, and he just started crying into his cup and then drank from it and kept crying into it. That got all three of them to laugh as a group. Wow, Dick, I leave for a minute and you already get emotional and telling stories. Jason walked up with a smirk. He opened his mouth to talk more, but a car honking stopped them. A valet came out of the car and walked up to the quartet, who stood waiting. Danny heard Duke and Jason talking to each other, but he was too blindsided by the fact that WE apparently just has valets on hand. Gentlemen, here is the car that was requested. The key has been left on the driver's side mat pocket. Have a great day and drive safely. The valet bowed slightly at the group, then walked off, and when Danny looked back at the group, he saw that Jason and First were having a stare-off. He felt a tug on his sleeve and saw Duke motioning towards the seat-in. Come on, those two are going to start fighting over the front seat, and I don't want to get caught up in that. Pretty sure that Jason drove here on his motorcycle, though. Walking down the steps, Danny couldn't help but feel like he was having a dream. Was he really getting a separate car ride from the rest of his classmates? Well, we could always catch up when we get to the hotel anyways. Wait, what's the schedule again? Cursing himself, Danny couldn't help but regret letting his friends lead him around as he daydreamed and planned the whole week out to get a peek into the famed WE Astronautics Division HQs. His online forum friends had freaked out when he told them where he was going. When Duke got them both in the back seat, with Duke just tossing his bag up front and motioning for him to do the same. Not with my notes and thermos, I'm not. Danny shook his head and let the awkward silence strew between them, with the far-off shouting of Jason and First to add the salt to the stew. Why did I seriously just get into a car with a random stranger in Gotham, the second highest crime rate city in the country? And that was part 1, chapter 1 of It's a Reflex, a DPXDC podfic written by Coffee Loving Hermit and read by Summer Audio. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Chapter 2 is next, because instead of the chapters being in parts, I can finally read each chapter individually, because the chapters are short enough. Woo! You guys don't have to have like one chapter be 2 parts. Like, I'm actually doing it like normally for once in my stories. But I hope you guys liked it, because I really had fun with this one. I was trying not to giggle in many of the scenes. Chapter 2 gets even better. There are 7 chapters total, and it's almost 50,000 words. It's 49,000 words. So it's a really, really good one. It's so funny. You guys are really gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna be posting all of these ones on Wednesday. Like, each of these are gonna come out on Wednesday. Also, how do you like the picture? Because it took forever for me to try and draw. Like, I could not get it correctly, like, at all. It was so annoying to try and draw, but I love it. It's amazing. But kudos the author now. You have to. If you finished the thing, that obviously means you probably enjoyed it, meaning you have to kudos, because the author deserves it so much. They're such a good writer. I actually have listened to some of their other stories and read some of their other stories, so obviously they're a good writer. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.